my name is Anushree. I am an editor at Penguin Random House India and welcome to Bookish Season 3. And I have with me the brilliant Ajoy Bose, who has written Across the Universe, The Beatles in India, which is about the 50th anniversary of the Beatles' legendary trip to Rishikesh. You have had an incredible journey to this book because you wrote a book back in 1977 on the emergency. And then you wrote a political biography of Mayawati. So how did you come to write this book?
I never really thought that I would write a book on the Beatles. And my first book was when I was a very young reporter of 24 years. The second one was on Mayawati, whom I found really, really interesting because she was a Dalit leader, personal story. BSP was such a unique party. The Dalits as a community were also so different, and Uttar Pradesh, of course, the great sort of Byzantine politics of Uttar Pradesh. But honestly, the Beatles book has been, I've had a blast with the Beatles book.
Which is what makes this book special because you're a fan writing this book, right?
Absolutely. So this book is a lot about me as well because, you know, it's nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know, because I fell in love with the Beatles when I was a teenage rebel in Calcutta.
Yep.
I belonged to the Beatles generation. And you know, my fight with my father those days was the length of my hair. And you know, I wanted to keep it like the Beatles. And my father hated the Beatles. He really hated them because he felt they used to make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And there were all these screaming fans. And then of course, you know, this whole thing about this hair, which he thought was so inappropriate.
He disapproved.
Indeed. So we grew out of that disapproval. We were rebels, and that really started me off, you know, on a totally different journey because, you know, later I became a Naxalite. I dropped out from college.
Yeah.
It was this whole thing of being a rebel. And then, of course, I came back. I got into journalism at a very early age, at the age of 20, and then I wrote a book on the emergency. And then after that, I got into political journalism, television, radio, print. I've done the whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, the Beatles book somehow completes me in many ways.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been a great, great experience.
From being a Beatles fan in Cal to coming to St. Stephen's to study and then becoming a Naxalite rebel must have taken you to a bunch of places.
As a Naxalite, I lived with the Santals, the tribals.
Wow.
And that was really, really interesting because I've never really been inside a village. You know, I was very young, you know, I was only 18 years old.
Wow.
And, you know, just for that experience, I mean, I missed out on college, by the way. But I had some very interesting experiences as an Naxalite. And then I worked as a factory worker. And of course, so over the years, as a journalist, I've seen many, many places. I've seen many, many moments which stick in your head. I mean, one of the moments which really stick in my head is the Golden Temple operation. You know, I was the last one to interview Janel Singh Bindrawale, and Shabik Singh and Amrit Singh.
That's incredible.
I mean, and I walked out and you know, within hours, the army was at the door of the Golden Temple. And then, of course, the Bhopal gas tragedy. You know, 1984 was the kind of defining year. But the one thing, of course, which was completely out of the ordinary was me getting hijacked. I mean, I got hijacked. I'd gone to Kashmir to cover Farooq Abdullah being toppled by Jagmohan. And on my way back, I got hijacked. You know, so it was something which was like extraordinary. We were taken to Lahore by Sikh extremists. Of course, I was thrilled because it was a fantastic story. I mean, you know, as a journalist, you get hijacked. And I was working for The Guardian those days. Finally, of course, I got my story.
Thank
God.
God.
I mean, I had an 8-column spread. You know, for a journalist, it's huge. So, yes, in terms of experiences, I would say really probably tops everything else.
Jesus Christ. But you must have been terrified out of your mind. In the moment, it couldn't have been like this is the biggest scoop
I'm
of
not
my...
very sure because I think that I was really more upset. Those days I was a chain smoker and I wasn't allowed to smoke at all. And I really, really suffered because I couldn't smoke a cigarette. So when the hijacking was over, you know, I just got down and I lit my cigarette. And there was this huge Pathan guy, you know, who came and said, cigarette up peene se. So I just told him, piss off, mate. I'm smoking. And at that point, the pilot of the plane, who was poor chap, he was traumatized completely, came down. He said,
Yeah.
in that case, I'll also have a cigarette.
Jesus.
As a journalist, you go to many, many places. And, I remember the Bhopal gas tragedy again in '84, and that was also really awful. I mean, we were going to Bhopal, landing at the station, and asking a rickshawala to take you, and that guy saying, "Are you mad? Why are you going to that factory? Because that's where the poison gas is." Are you mad? I said, "No, I'm a journalist."
Was journalism something that you had always wanted to do?
Well, it happened quite seamlessly, me becoming a journalist. After the revolution collapsed around our heads, I was sort of almost rescued from the Naxalite movement by Aruna Safali, who was herself a freedom fighter, a very, very legendary figure, and she ran a leftist newspaper. And she offered me this thing, and at that point, I had very few options. I could go back to college and do the usual thing, but I really didn't want to really go back and start all over again. So, this whole thing of being not chased by the police, but actually chasing police because I became a crime reporter sounded very quite attractive. The bug was in me, and it stayed with me, and I think, essentially, I'm a journalist. But I also really enjoy being a writer as well. So when I say a journalist, even the Beatles book is a lot about research and investigation and writing up. The book is really journalistic effort as well.
Can you think of some of the books which sort of formed you?
I've been a great fan of George Orwell.
Of course,
And George Orwell influenced me a huge amount, even in my thinking, in my liberalism, in my innate liberalism, in standing up for somebody who's weak. John Steinbeck as well.
And are you one of those who have shifted to digital reading completely, or are you still a paper man?
Unlike most of my friends, I've almost completely switched to digital reading.
Really?
One of the real problems with books is that you have to find space to keep them. And then you're nostalgic about old books because you bought them over this whole life of yours, and you don't want to throw them away. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think Kindle is the sort of answer.
I mean, I still read on paper, but I got myself a Kindle also recently. So I completely see your point. Where do you write? You recently told me that you went to Goa once, and some of your best chapters of one of your books were produced there.
Well, my Naxalite book, the 2 chapters which I've written were entirely written in Goa. I just shut myself. I got a little flat in Goa, which is very nice in Vagator, just about 5 minutes walk on the beach, on the cliff. Very, very nice. But the Beatles book, I wrote it entirely in Delhi, and I think it worked very well. I was really happy that I could work, in my study. In my study, I have a very nice study, and I just sort of cut myself off there, and I managed to write it at a pretty fast rate, I think.
I think you did a good job with the time, So thank you, Ajoy, for doing this. Thank you for writing the book as well, and I hope you enjoy watching Booker Season 3.
Thank you very much.